Living in a suburban neighborhood with a homeowners association, HOA, is like walking a tightrope over a pit of pettiness. You follow the rules, stay polite, and hope you never end up on the radar of a self-appointed enforcer. Unfortunately, my wife and I had the misfortune of catching the attention of HOA Karen, the kind of neighbor who treats minor infractions like federal crimes and, ironically, tried to report an actual federal agent for impersonating one. It all started on an unusually hot Saturday afternoon in early July. My wife Alina had just returned from a week-long assignment out of town. She's a federal investigator with Homeland Security role. She doesn't advertise, especially not in our neighborhood, where people tend to gossip over hedge heights and garbage bin placement. That day, she wore plainclothes jeans, a black t-shirt, and a ball cap and was unloading her duffel bag and briefcase from the trunk of her government-issued vehicle when it all went sideways. Karen, our next-door neighbor, stood on her porch glaring at us. She's in her mid-50s, with a perpetual scowl and a clipboard she seems to carry more often than her own purse. We usually kept interactions minimal, a wave here, a forced smile there. She'd already confronted us in the past about leaving our trash bin out for 6 extra minutes and once tried to fine us for having a Halloween pumpkin on our porch past November 1st. But this was different. Karen crossed over with her usual air of authority, armed with her phone and a smug expression. "You can't park that car here," she said, pointing to Elena's government SUV. "Only emergency vehicles are allowed to park in front of the hydrant." Alina raised an eyebrow. "It's not in front of the hydrant. It's 10 feet between. It's close enough to be a violation," Karen snapped. "And I noticed that badge hanging from your rearview mirror. That's impersonation." "Not a real officer?" Alina glanced at her SUV. Her credentials were visible through the windshield, and the vehicle had government plates. It was hardly subtle. "I assure you I am a real officer." "Oh, please," Karen scoffed. "Anyone can print a fake badge online. I've seen enough TV shows to know a phony when I see one." I stepped in, trying to keep the peace. "Karen, she just got home from work." "It's a government vehicle. I'm reporting this." Karen cut in, already dialing her phone. "The HOA will be hearing about it, and so will the local police. Impersonating a federal officer is a felony, you know?" Alina just crossed her arms and waited. I could see the flicker of amused disbelief on her face. She'd dealt with hardened criminals and complex investigations, but nothing prepared her for the wrath of suburban HOA tyranny. Within 20 minutes, 2 local police cruisers pulled up. Karen stood tall with a triumphant smirk, pointing dramatically at Alina like she was unveiling a crime boss. "There she is," she said to the officers. "That woman is pretending to be a federal agent." One of the officers, Officer Daniels, approached us while his partner spoke with Karen. He looked tired, probably already aware that this was likely going to be a waste of time. "Ma'am, we received a report of impersonation," he said cautiously. "Can I see some identification?" Without missing a beat, Alina reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out her federal badge and ID. She held it open for him to inspect, alongside her government credentials and assignment documents. The officer examined them for several moments, then nodded. Double quotes. "Thank you, ma'am. Everything looks legitimate. Sorry for the trouble." Karen's expression shifted from righteous indignation to wide-eyed confusion as Officer Daniels walked over, said something quietly to her. She recoiled, blinking furiously, but she parked illegally. She was acting suspicious. "Ma'am," the officer said with patient exasperation, "the vehicle is government-issued. The parking is legal. And your report was unfounded. If anything, you disrupted an active federal officer returning from duty." Alina finally spoke. "Next time you accuse someone of impersonating an officer, make sure you're not interrupting someone who actually carries a federal badge." Karen sputtered, her voice rising in volume as she tried to salvage her dignity. "I was just trying to protect the neighborhood," she should have announced herself. "I don't need to announce anything to you," Alina replied calmly. "This isn't a TV drama. I don't flash my badge when I come home from work." The officers left after advising Karen not to file baseless reports again, and we went inside. I poured Alina a glass of iced tea, and we both sat down on the couch, equal parts amused and annoyed. "Think she'll try to fine us again?" I asked. "Oh, absolutely," Alina smirked. "But now she knows I'm not the one to mess with." The incident didn't just fade quietly. Word spread quickly in the neighborhood. HOA Karen had made herself the center of gossip, and for once, it wasn't to her advantage. A few neighbors even stopped by over the next few days to apologize or ask what really happened, we later found out. Karen tried to bring the issue up at the next HOA meeting, citing concerns over strangers with badges in the community. But when another board member asked her directly, "Are you referring to the actual federal officer who lives next to you?" she quickly changed the subject. From that point on, Karen kept her distance. No more clipboard confrontations. No more passive-aggressive notes on our door. I think realizing she couldn't outpower a federal agent, Tesley, one with actual legal authority, took the wind out of her sails. We didn't revel in her embarrassment, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't satisfying. Alina works hard in a demanding job, and she deserves to come home without being harassed by someone who watches too many procedural dramas and thinks she's the neighborhood sheriff. It was a classic case of someone letting their delusions of authority override common sense. Karen had watched too many episodes of Law and Order and thought she could sniff out a fake badge like some amateur detective. But reality hit her harder than any HOA violation ever could. In the end, we didn't press the issue or file a complaint against her, though we could have. Alina decided it wasn't worth the paperwork. Her humiliation was punishment enough, she joked. And me? I learned never to underestimate my wife's ability to handle chaos with a badge or without. But I also learned that some suburban battles aren't won with shouting or rules, but with patience, calm confidence, and the right credentials. At the right moment, because nothing shuts down an HOA Karen faster than the real authority showing up at her front lawn,